So welcome everyone to the first in our series of the Design the New Normal webinars, where we will be supporting your active and healthy living during COVID-19 and beyond. My name is Kushbal. I'm a program manager at Point A, and today we'll be talking about maintaining productivity while working from home. We will be covering the best practices for remote work, including tips on setting up a workspace, maintaining a schedule with children, and getting support from your employer. So this webinar series is a part of the Smart Commute program in York Region. Smart Commute program supports individuals, businesses, and the community with using sustainable transportation through webinars such as this, campaigns, and our online ride matching tool. Point A delivers the Smart Commute program in North Toronto and in Vaughan. So today we'll be covering, as I mentioned, the best practices of remote work, including tips on setting up your workspace, maintaining a schedule with children, and getting support from your employer. This webinar series is a part of the Smart Commute program in York Region. Smart Commute program is meant to help individuals, businesses, and the community with using sustainable transportation through webinars such as this, campaigns, and our online ride matching tool. Point A delivers the Smart Commute program in North Toronto as well as in Vaughan. So to start with, creating a workspace is a good place to start. Working from home gives us the option of choosing a sofa or a bedroom as a comfortable place to work, but it's really important to find a balance between comfort and efficiency, especially as one of the biggest factors to productivity is to limit distractions. Setting up a work zone allows for privacy and allows you to set up expectations for everyone in your home when you need to be focused. And with the limited space that we're working in today, it's especially important now to keep your workspace organized. Part of that is making sure that you have the right equipment. Equipment such as a monitor, headphones, even a standing desk can make a big difference on productivity. And it's also quite worth investing into a good chair. So this is a little bit of an interactive activity. Here we have an image of a workspace. So for this activity, take a moment to look at the picture and see if you can identify some potential hazards. When we're working from home, we can create the potential for more unsafe conditions given the limited space, the fact that we have a more casual work environment, and there's an overlap between our non-work materials and our work materials. So think about what hazards are here, and this is the same image of the same office space, I should say, but with a lot of the hazards eliminated. So hopefully you were able to pick out the improvements that have to be made. There is actually one hazard still in this picture. I don't know if you're able to catch it, but it's the open drawer. It's a good idea that once you're done with something to pack it away, clear up the area, and closing that door would be a good idea. So just to go over some remote office tips, it's always a good idea to do a quick inspection of your workspace to ensure that it's safe and conducive to productivity. While you should take the time to perhaps move around your home and your home space to find the right spot for you to be productive, ultimately it's a good idea to find one spot and stay in that one spot that's comfortable and safe and allows you to have some privacy to actually be productive. And so now it can also be tempting to leave out work materials a bit more and be more casual about things. But I think that it's actually more effective for productivity and for overall our mental health to stay more organized and pack things away once you're done with them. And finally, if you are working with confidential materials, it's important to make sure that they get locked away in a safe space. And it's a good idea to not store those confidential materials in the same space that you would put your personal items, your personal materials, to avoid clutter and confusion. So much of our usual routine used to be tied to getting set up and traveling to work in the morning. Now that working from home, it can be tempting to jump right into the day, right into work, and not have a morning routine per se. But maintaining such a routine can be a very fruitful way to maintain a healthy transition into work and helps retain some of the pre-COVID stability that work gave us. So maintaining this routine can be as simple as making sure that you get dressed professionally. as you normally would, perhaps being a little bit more casual, going out for your morning run that you would normally have done, or simply taking the time to read the book that you would have read during your bus ride to the office. It can also be easy to keep working all day when you have your email and your work right at your fingertips. But it's important to maintain that life-work balance for productivity. And so part of that is establishing regular work hours. Another aspect of the regular workday that we've lost is the normal activity of walking to the bus stop to get to work, grabbing lunch, even simply just walking to the bathroom. So now consciously incorporating activity and movement into your day can be a useful way to maintain physical health and productivity. As in-person meetings are being replaced with virtual chats, we're really being required to communicate and listen in ways that we previously did not have to deal with. For instance, how often would you stare at a coworker while you're chatting with them? Most likely not. And so there's also this increased chance of losing focus. One of the best ways to improve focusing is to reduce the number of tasks you take on in the day. And focusing also means reducing the amount of online stimuli. So this actually can include removing the option to see yourself during a video chat. That can actually be very distracting. And then finally, it's important to remember that it's okay to take breaks and consider suggesting chatting with your coworkers through phone calls, emails, and messaging through platforms such as Slack as an alternative to the video calls. Many of us are finding that we're busier now than ever before, and much of that has to do with the amount of meetings that we have now. All of the informal chats we would have had with coworkers are now formally set up, which can add a whole new task to our plate. It's a good way to reduce the workload of setting up meetings is to use scheduling software and automate the process. There's a lot of scheduling software out there, including Boomerang and Meeting Bird, and that those can actually be very beneficial for productivity. And another way to reduce getting overwhelmed with the amount of meetings is to block time your work. And this, again, reiterates the point about not taking on too many tasks during the day and setting up expectations with your coworkers through establishing office hours. Successfully managing a home and work life with children starts even before you start working. So before your work week begins, perhaps over the weekend, it's a good idea to create a checklist with your children if they're old enough to take on tasks for things that they can do. And this actually sets up your children for success and prepares them for any meetings and tasks that you have well ahead of time. And this can also include making sure that they're aware of a quote-unquote door policy of when you'll need to be focusing and working. When you start getting into work on Monday morning, it's a good way to, it's very useful to help your children also get into the day by maintaining their morning routine, as they would have been used to doing, going to daycare or going to school. Part of that morning routine can be a transition activity where you and your children can enjoy some time together and get them ready and okay with you focusing on work later on. It's also helpful to set up a schedule for predictable times that you'll be connecting and checking in during the day with your children. And these expectations can be set at the beginning of your day when you have that transition activity. While there are some useful ways to organize your day to work productively with children, the activity that your family engages in outside of work can be very impactful to your work life and overall productivity. A significant part of this is making sure that you respect your off hours and not get tempted to pick up your work phone or open up your laptop outside of the regular hours that you've established. And instead use that off time to perhaps start a new hobby. This can give everyone, especially your children, something to look forward to in what is a unstable period. Cycling is a great activity to start if you haven't already, and it gives you an opportunity to get outside the house while maintaining COVID health recommendations. And then finally, allowing children to have virtual socializing is also a good activity to help them maintain their normal relationships and add some stability. Productivity is a team effort, especially now that we're more isolated than ever before. Engaging your employer or even your department can be a useful way to deal with some of the challenges that come with remote work in the midst of COVID-19. Workplace culture has a huge impact on productivity. So while we're working at home, it's important to maintain that culture as much as possible. And this can happen through wellness activities, such as perhaps doing virtual group yoga together, or perhaps other activities. My team, for instance, we play categories during the week. This helps maintain those informal interactions and support that we get from our coworkers. These are not normal times in which we are remote working in. For example, normally children would be at daycare, but given these unique circumstances, it can be worth discussing flexible hours with your employer. And finally, collaboration is key in maintaining transparency of tasks that your team is taking on. By being transparent, you can actually fight being overloaded and eliminating haphazard assignment of work, and encourages a culture where people work more focused on a small number of tasks instead of being too spread out. And this has an overall huge impact on productivity as well. So just to summarize some of the tips that we've talked about today, the best practices in establishing a workspace, a designated area in which you'll be focusing on your work, keeping a morning routine before you start work, avoiding distractions. One of the biggest ways is when you're having online meetings to not have other stimuli. It can be tempting, but put those away. Even your phone can be a part of that. Creating office hours, actually allowing yourself the stability and the routine that you previously had by letting everybody know with your coworkers and everyone in your home that you have these established on hours. And transitioning into work with children by doing a fun activity before work, getting them ready for what you'll be doing, and allowing them to also have a list of things that they want to work on. And then finally, maintaining cohesion with your team, allowing for team activities such as the group yoga that I mentioned. If you're thinking about taking up cycling, as I mentioned, that as a fun activity to try, but you're not sure where to start, we do have an upcoming webinar that would be well suited for you. Next Wednesday, 12 to 12:30 on July 22nd, we'll be talking about how to choose and fit a bike, including how to find a bike on a budget, the gear that you'll need to get started, and how to ensure that your bike is safe to ride. We'll also be giving additional resources on how to help you get started with cycling. So it's not too late to sign up. You'll see there is a link, pointa.ca/design the new normal, where you can register. So with that, I'll open up the floor to any questions. Oh, I think I got a question about scheduling software. Yes. So there was a couple scheduling software that, as I mentioned, there's a whole host of them, but Meetingbird is one. It offers a free plan, and for unlimited scheduling, it actually allows you to integrate with Zoom as well. There is a subscription for an employer if they want to sign up. I think it's about $9 a month for that. Calendly is another one for a small fee. It's a monthly subscription. And then finally, there's Boomerang is one that I've personally used before. It integrates well into platforms such as Outlook and Gmail. So those are some suggestions, but there are quite a few out there if you want to take a look. I hope that helps answer your question. Okay, I've gotten another question here. So this is a question about how to maintain an office space when you're living in a smaller space, for instance, an apartment or a condo, where perhaps it's not just you working, it's also you and your partner are working, and you maybe share your breakfast table as a work table, and how to have perhaps an unofficial workspace? It's a really good question. I think a lot of us are dealing with this now, where we can't just go to a separate room and close the door. So just some tips, I suppose, I would give on that. One is to perhaps set up a virtual door policy. Work with your partner to let them know these are the hours at which I need to be focused, and to kind of respect that and imagine that there's a door, and to not sort of interrupt you during those periods of time. Another is to make sure that if you are sharing that same table, is to be organized and tidy, and to make sure that everything gets packed away at the end of the day, to really allow for a clean distinction between work and home life. And then final tip I'll give is, if you are sharing that space, it's important to make sure that you store your materials separately, if possible, as to avoid clutter and confusion, as you have two different workplaces kind of working in the same space. Those are some tips I give. I hope those are helpful. Okay, I got another question here around group activities. Aside from yoga, what is an activity you mentioned that we do with my coworkers, and other ideas? Yeah, no worries. That's a good question. So for our team, we have weekly check-in meetings, and we place categories online. It's a really fun game. It's pretty easy to play. It's actually, you can online categories is available. It's a fun way to just kind of connect, and there's a free platform. And yeah, it's actually, there's even an option to get themes categories, I think, where you can do it themed around transportation and whatnot. So it's a fun little game. There's actually quite a few free or very cost-effective online games to play. Another activity I think a lot of people do is fitness. I guess yoga is related to this, so fitness classes together as well, maybe outside of work. Oh, someone else suggested that they use House Party in the comments. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Great. Does anybody else have any other questions before we wrap it up today? Okay, thank you so much. Hope everybody has a good day and is able to stay productive.